G'day everybody, welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today we're going to have a little chat about these two monitors here from Osborn loudspeakers. So we've got the standard Eos, and then we have the top of the range here in the gloss, which is the Eos Elite Reference. Okay, so I will link a video going through the stats and the of the speaker, and I did a video when they first came here, so I'll link to that at the end of this video if you're interested in that, rather than going over the whole thing again. What you're here for is for me to give you an idea as to my thoughts on both of these loudspeakers, these little monitors, and talk about how I found them in my room. So let's start off with the Eos, the standard Eos. Now, this has a very familiar mid-bass driver in it. This driver is actually out of the Wilson Watt Puppy series. And I picked it a mile away from when I first saw it, and I did ask Greg about that, and he agreed that yes, that's exactly what it comes out of. And then this is the very much the later version. So the standard Eos speaker, to give you a bit of an idea on how I found it. Now all these speakers can be done in gloss, or the Elite Reference can be done in a matte finish or a timber finish if that's what you would prefer. You could talk to Greg about that. He literally does offer a bespoke service. So if you're looking for something in particular, he's likely to be able to do that for you. So that's also really good, including painted finishes, I believe. So I'll leave a link to Greg's website in the description of the video, so you guys can reach out to him if you're interested and talk to him. So having these speakers in here was great, because I also had a set of Ion Forge desktop speaker stands that I wanted to review, and so Greg helped me out by giving me both these speakers to look at, as well as being able to complete that review, which is already up on the channel. But my impressions are about the Eos to start with. When I was listening to it, I found I really enjoyed the very natural mid-range that speaker produces. It has a really lovely ability to be able to deal with human voices very, very well. It scales quite nicely. It's a little bit more efficient than the Elite Reference version of this speaker. It was noticeable that I didn't need to drive it anywhere near as much to get that matched volumes between these two speakers. Not that this is hugely inefficient, because it really isn't. They're both very efficient speakers. We're in the low 90s here and the high 80s here. For a speaker of this size to be able to be that efficient is a great testament to Greg's speaker building qualities. So going further into this, mid-range was beautiful, really, really nice. These speakers, once they're set up correctly in the room, and that's with a little bit of front wall loading, they're rear ported, do very, very nicely in the lower octave. Look, you are not going to get earth-shattering low-end reproduction here. It's just not possible. But I can tell you, once they're set up properly on good isolation, so obviously isolation helped these speakers, good isolation underneath these speakers, and a little bit of front wall loading, so getting them up against back to the wall enough to get some nice loading on the low octave, really made you feel like, in a small room, you weren't lacking much there at all in the lower octave. It was really quite good. I'm talking about the Eos, the standard Eos speaker at the moment. The only thing that I would say is that the standard Eos can get a little tiny bit emphasized in the top end. It's certainly not an out of balance speaker, but it is a little bit more emphasized and a little bit less refined than its big brother here, in the sense of that refinement. So again, we're not talking a lot here, but for the purpose of this review and comparing the two speakers, I liked both of these speakers for different reasons, actually. And I was thoroughly impressed with both of them, to be honest. But I would say there is a slight overemphasis on the upper frequency when you are pushing the Eos to, you know, decent volume levels, as opposed to its glossy brother here beside it. Build quality of these speakers is nothing short of amazing. They are beautifully built. Give you a look at the grills too. So this is the grill. This is literally so fine. It has a lovely Osborn badge there on it. Now they are, if you like, an arrangement like so. So we'll clip this on so that you guys can see what it looks like here. So that is the speaker with its grill on, and then, you know, they are quite solidly attached, but it is the old-fashioned receptacle and the ball and pin type arrangement. If I had another criticism, it would be that magnetizing the grill design would be very good to do, as it seems to be a modern way that things are done these days. This is still a little old-fashioned. Would be, you know, a possible downside to if I'm splitting hairs here. But really, you're here and you're buying a speaker like this for its sound quality characteristics, and as I said, in that mid-band area where a lot of the instruments we listen to live, this speaker was really very impressive. Now, this speaker sells currently on Greg's website for under $3,000. I mean, it is a stonkingly good value speaker for that kind of money. And there's nothing that I've heard in that sub 3,000 category that I think betters this. And I think the build quality of this speaker is second to none in its class. It is beautifully put together. Greg hand winds the inductors on his crossover networks here, and he only uses the best parts for the internal crossover components. And obviously, as you can see, he's using really high quality drivers. So it is a really nice speaker, perfect in that mid-band area. And with the help of a subwoofer, and of course I've had the Watchdog subwoofer working at times in and out with both of these speakers, it is then a full range experience. If you've got a comparable subwoofer, something that, you know, will handle that lower octave down to sort of 20 hertz, then you really do have a full range setup here in a monitor that is very, you know, quite small. So an absolute very nice speaker in that mid-band area. I did notice that the top end frequencies were a little bit, they became slightly out of balance with more current put through them. But I mean, as I said, I have completely mismatched these with the components, and that needs to be said as well. I mean, I've been driving these things with Vitus monoblock amplifiers, but you're not going to do that with a speaker like this. I did plug these speakers into my Rotel Michi amplifier, my stereo power amplifier, and they performed equally as well. I didn't show any of that on the footage because I wanted to talk to you about it here. I had a couple of amplifiers come through that I plugged into these speakers that I did not show on the channel. I just showed with my main system for continuity. But on the other amplifiers, these speakers really did flesh out everything the amplifier could give them. So they will certainly work on more modestly priced, more appropriately priced amplifiers in their category, without a doubt. I have no problem with that. So if we move over to the Elite reference version of this speaker, both drivers in this speaker have neodymium magnet structures or drive structures in them. There is a 6 neodymium magnet ring drive arrangement in this tweeter here, which is similar to Greg's higher, bigger speakers. This mid-range is, I think everybody probably knows by looking at the pattern that's going on there, that this is a fairly well-known and very high-quality mid-range driver as well. Now, this speaker is lead-lined, like the Epitomes that I had in the room here, the Epitome Elite reference that I had in here before. So this is Greg's top-of-the-range model, and this thing weighs 14.5 kilos. So we have got a very, very, quite a hefty speaker. So if we talk a little bit about how it differed from its little brother, there was a much more of a sense of refinement going on with the elite reference. So what I mean by that is that high frequency notes and spatial cues in the soundstage were more delicate, more open, more finessed. When this speaker was pushed, up in volume, it never ever lost its composure. It didn't change its balance between its mid-range, mid-bass and its tweeter frequency response. It really maintained its composure from low listening levels to fairly high listening levels. I mean, I had both of these speakers playing in here at around 90 dB at times. I don't like to get much louder than that, and they were both handling that power without any problems at all. There was no, we weren't running out of excursion with the mid-bass driver here. The speaker never felt like it was at its limit, either one of these speakers, but certainly the Elite reference was a very, very composed speaker right up to, into the 90 dB listening level range. And that's, for most of us, I think, absolutely as loud as we would want to go if we actually care about our hearing. The finish here is stunning. The clear coat finishing on these speakers from Osborn loudspeakers is exceptionally good. I mean, I like the timber finish. These are all real timber veneers on here. There's none of this fake, sort of plastic rubbish being ironed onto chipboard. These are high quality speakers finished exceptionally well. You've got Cartus binding posts on the back of the Elite series. So Greg's gone all out with the Elite reference series to put the best of componentry that he has to offer in these speakers. Listening to classical music, for instance, some big orchestra music, I could not believe the level of scale that was coming from these little speakers. And you guys were mentioning it as well in the 1 minute shorts that I've been playing with these going. They really do both of them create a huge soundstage. They image beautifully, pinpoint imaging. The speaker does not need to be towed in vast amounts. I towed them in, ever so slightly. In my last setup, I tried them literally tipped right in like I would normally have my Wilsons, and I had them playing directly straight ahead. There was a little loss of focus on the center image when they were straight ahead, but that's probably more my room than it is the speaker's inability to image. But with a slight toe in of about 5 degrees, the center image focus was pinpoint sharp. The positioning of instruments and players across the soundstage with both of these speakers was exceptionally good as anything I've heard. The timbral, textured, layered reality in the soundstage and of the instruments was beautifully fleshed out with the Elite reference speaker. More also with the Elite speaker, as I said, the mid-band here is really beautiful with this speaker. It is here as well, no doubt about it, but that was its real party trick. Its ability to be able to portray instruments in the mid-band and also voices so beautifully, accurately and convincingly. But this has more composure. This has more refinement. And as it should do, it is its top version of the Eos loudspeaker. So Greg's put all of the best into this speaker, and obviously it's a more expensive speaker than its little brother, but nonetheless, both brilliant speakers for the money. I think exceptionally good value speakers for the money. Listening to rock and roll music, playing Dire Straits through both of these. Some of you were saying, I just can't believe a speaker like that's putting that kind of sound out. And I can assure you, here in the room, the sound was huge. I'm sitting here with some of my friends listening at times, and they were just shaking their head. They could not believe a monitor like this could produce such a large soundstage, both in width, height, depth, and also image quality. Really was sensationally good from both of them. But if I had to pick between the two, obviously I'd be picking the Elite Reference for its sense of refinement. So the way that it dealt with high frequencies with more finesse, the way it actually played down lower in the frequency response. So with this speaker, I would sit in here for maybe 4 or 5 hours listening to it without the subwoofer on, and I would not be feeling like I'm missing a subwoofer. Obviously, when you turn a subwoofer on, you play big orchestral pieces of music, or you play, things that are very, very, a bit of Hans Zimmer or something like that. Well, then yes, I mean, a subwoofer would only help in its ability to be able to go full range. But you didn't feel like you ever missed it with these speakers. They just did the job pretty nicely. The EOS, more than held up its own weight, but the Elite Reference just was able to flesh out lower frequencies that bit better, and it certainly had a more refined top end than its smaller brother. Beautiful speakers, really happy with their quality. They've been an absolute joy to have in this room. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having them. That would be my best take on the differences between the two. If we're sort of comparing them, one of the speakers that I'm happy to compare to, because I've had it in here relatively recently, was the Fisher & Fisher Kleins. Now, this is where I think there was pluses and negatives between these speakers, and more so this speaker, and the Fisher & Fisher Klein. I thought that was a stunningly good loudspeaker for a tiny, and we're talking even smaller than this. I mean, these have a decent size mid bass driver in them. The Klein has a 4.5 inch mid bass driver in it. The inertness of the slate cabinet was certainly a benefit to that speaker. Where I think, and I don't know why more manufacturers don't do this, and I think this would also benefit the EOS speakers, is having separate crossovers. Now, I know it's another box, and it's more production, and it's something else that's outside of the speaker, and it's not neat and tidy, and so on and so forth. I understand all that, but there is something to be said about getting that crossover out of the turbulent environment that is inside a loudspeaker cabinet. And that's why I was so impressed with the Fisher & Fisher Klein desktop monitors. But to compare the Reference Elite to that speaker, there were some pluses and minuses. This plays lower, no doubt about it. So if you're looking for something you could live within a smaller environment without a subwoofer, you would buy this EOS Elite Reference all day long over the Klein from Fisher & Fisher. If you look at its higher frequency response, I think this probably gets it by a very, very small margin. I really was impressed with the 6 neodymium magnet drive tweeter in this speaker. It was really very, very, very competent and very, very refined. I think the thing with the Klein, if we're comparing the two, is it is just such a small little monitor, and with some rear wall loading as well, it held its own pretty nicely. But for me, if I was picking between the two, I would be probably picking the EOS over the Klein for its ability to be able to play down lower, and it's both speakers were very competent and very refined and unflustered, to be honest. Although pushing the little Klein like I pushed these, I think the Klein would certainly run out of excursion and start clapping at me. Whereas this never did that, and I played this, considerably more with more volume than I did the Klein for that reason. I just knew I was not able to push that Klein into those kind of levels. It's just not capable of scaling like that, and that's fine, because it's literally such a tiny little slate cube. So I think in my considerations after all of this would certainly get the nod for me personally. But if you're in a tiny little desktop situation, you might like to look at the Klein. They're more expensive than these, and so therefore, I mean, price needs to be taken into account as well. These really are the most amazing value for money you will find for a very, very competent hi-fi speaker that would satisfy the majority of audiophiles in a small to medium listening space. You could do a lot worse than having a look on Osborn's website and having a chat to Greg about either one of these. But certainly mid-range voices on this speaker were stunning for the price point. This was a more refined version of that speaker. That's really the cutaway at the end of all of this. So if you enjoyed this review of the Osborn Eos and Eos Elite reference, please don't forget to give the videos a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please, if you want a shoot it straight from the hip, no scripts, nothing prepared, just here I go, I give it to you straight as it is with nothing but my honesty, then consider subscribing to the channel and becoming part of our amazing community here at an Aussie Audiophile. For all of you guys that are heading off to the Pullman Hotel for the StereoNet Melbourne Hi-Fi show on the 29th, 30th and 31st of the month, I will be up there covering the show for the 3 days. If you see me, pop up and say hello. I'd love to talk to some of you guys. So until we talk again, everybody, it's bye for now.